Chapter 1. Echoes Beyond the Void. The Aurora glided through the inky blackness of space, its sleek form cutting a path through the vast emptiness. Inside the state-of-the-art exploration vessel, the hum of machinery and the gentle thrum of the warp core created a soothing rhythm that had become the soundtrack of Chief Engineer Sofia Ramirez's life. Sofia's fingers danced across the control console, her eyes scanning the intricate readouts with practiced ease. The warp core, the heart of the ship's faster-than-light capabilities, was operating at peak efficiency, a testament to her team's meticulous maintenance and her own unwavering dedication. "Captain Hayden to engineering!" The comm system crackled to life, the captain's voice breaking the tranquil silence. Sofia tapped her earpiece, her brow furrowing slightly. "Go ahead, Captain." "We've picked up an anomalous energy signature on long-range sensors," Hayden said, his tone laced with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "It's unlike anything we've encountered before." Intrigued, Sofia leaned forward, her fingers already dancing across the console to bring up the relevant data. "Patching into the sensor feed now, Captain." The display flickered to life, and Sofia found herself studying a complex web of energy fluctuations, a cosmic symphony playing out in vibrant hues of red and violet. She squinted, her mind racing to decipher the patterns. "This is extraordinary," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've never seen anything like it. The energy signature is highly unstable, yet it seems to be maintaining a coherent structure." "Your analysis, Chief?" Hayden's voice crackled through the comm, tinged with urgency. Sofia paused, her fingers hovering over the console as she considered her response. "It's difficult to say with certainty, Captain, but based on the data, I hypothesize that we're dealing with some form of spatial anomaly, a localized distortion in the fabric of space-time, if you will." There was a momentary silence, and Sofia could almost picture the captain's thoughtful expression as he mulled over her words. "Recommendations?" "We should proceed with extreme caution, Captain," Sofia advised, her tone grave. "Spatial anomalies can be highly unpredictable and potentially hazardous. I suggest we maintain a safe distance and conduct detailed scans before considering any further action." "Understood," Hayden replied. "I'll convene a meeting with the senior staff to discuss our next steps. Keep me apprised of any new developments, Chief." "Aye, Captain," Sofia acknowledged, her fingers already flying across the console, initiating a series of deep scans and analyses. As the data streamed in, Sofia felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. Encounters with spatial anomalies were rare, and the opportunity to study one up close was an opportunity that few engineers ever had. Yet the inherent risks were not to be taken lightly. She leaned back in her chair, her gaze fixed on the mesmerizing energy patterns dancing across the display. The unknown beckoned, and Sofia was determined to unravel its secrets, one careful step at a time. Hours slipped by as Sofia immersed herself in the task, her mind whirring with calculations and theories. The anomaly revealed tantalizing glimpses of its nature, but its true essence remained elusive, shrouded in mystery. The door to the engineering deck slid open, and Sofia glanced up to see her trusted lieutenant, Alexei Volkov, striding purposefully toward her. "You look like you've seen a ghost, Lieutenant," Sofia remarked, her lips curving into a wry smile. Alexei shook his head, his expression grave. "I wish it were a mere spectre, Chief. The captain's orders. We're to approach the anomaly for further study." Sofia's eyes widened and she straightened in her chair. "That's a bold move, Lieutenant, not without significant risk." "The captain understands the dangers," Alexei said, his tone solemn. "But he believes the potential rewards outweigh the risks. This could be a groundbreaking discovery, Chief." Sofia nodded slowly, her mind already racing with contingency plans and safety protocols. "Very well, then. Let's get to work. I want every system double-checked and reinforced. We're not taking any chances with this one." As Alexei turned to relay her orders to the engineering crew, Sofia's gaze drifted back to the anomaly's mesmerizing display. Her heart pounded with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. But she knew that this was what she lived for, the thrill of the unknown, the quest for knowledge, and the chance to push the boundaries of human understanding. With a deep breath, she steeled her resolve and set to work, her fingers flying across the console as she prepared the Aurora for its encounter with the enigmatic echoes beyond the void. Chapter 2. The Approach. The Aurora inched closer to the spatial anomaly, its sensors probing the cosmic disturbance with keen intensity. On the bridge, the air crackled with palpable tension as the crew monitored the situation with bated breath. Captain Hayden drummed his fingers on the armrest of his chair, his gaze fixed on the viewscreen. "Report, Lieutenant Ung." The young science officer's fingers danced across her console, her eyes flickering rapidly as she processed the incoming data. "The anomaly's energy patterns are becoming increasingly erratic, Captain. We're detecting fluctuations in the space-time continuum that defy conventional physics." "Meaning?" Hayden prompted, his brow furrowed. Ung swallowed hard, her expression grave. "Meaning that the closer we get, the more unpredictable and potentially hazardous the anomaly becomes. We're venturing into uncharted territory, sir." A heavy silence settled over the bridge, punctuated only by the steady beeps and chirps of the instruments. Hayden leaned forward, his jaw set in a firm line. "Recommendations?" "I advise proceeding with extreme caution, Captain," Ung said, her voice tinged with urgency. "One misstep, and the consequences could be catastrophic." Hayden nodded, his gaze shifting to the viewscreen. "Noted. Chief Ramirez, what's the status of our systems?" Sofia's voice crackled over the comm, her tone resolute. "All critical systems are at maximum redundancy, Captain. We've reinforced structural integrity fields and implemented additional safeguards around the warp core. The Aurora is as ready as she'll ever be." "Excellent work, Chief," Hayden replied, a hint of pride in his voice. "Maintain your vigilance. We're about to enter uncharted territory." In the engineering deck, Sofia monitored the ship's systems with hawk-like focus, her fingers flying across the console as she made minute adjustments and recalibrations. Alexei stood beside her, his expression set in grim determination. "Readings are holding steady for now," Sofia murmured, her eyes fixed on the flickering displays. "But we're entering the anomaly's event horizon. Brace for turbulence." As if on cue, the Aurora shuddered, the deck plates beneath their feet trembling with the force of the spatial distortions. Alarms blared, and Sofia's fingers danced across the console, her movements a blur as she struggled to maintain stability. "Structural integrity at 97% and holding," Alexei called out, his voice strained. "But the warp core is fluctuating wildly. We're losing containment." Sofia's heart hammered in her chest as she fought to regain control of the volatile situation. "Rerouting auxiliary power to the containment fields," she barked, her mind racing. "Alexei, initiate emergency venting protocols. We can't risk a core breach." On the bridge, the crew clung to their stations, their faces etched with grim determination as the Aurora bucked and pitched. Hayden gripped the arms of his chair, his knuckles white with the strain. "Report!" he shouted over the cacophony of alarms and the groaning of the ship's hull. "The anomaly's gravitational forces are playing havoc with our systems, Captain." Lieutenant Ung's voice crackled over the comm, strained but steady. "We're losing power to critical subsystems." Hayden's jaw tightened and he shot a glance at his first officer, Commander Ivanova. "Options?" Ivanova's fingers flew across her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We could attempt to divert auxiliary power to the thrusters and try to pull away from the anomaly's gravitational well," she suggested, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "But with the warp core in its current state, I can't guarantee we'll have enough power for a sustained burn." Another violent shudder rocked the Aurora, and Hayden's grip tightened on the armrests. "Do it!" he ordered, his voice firm. "We can't risk being trapped within the event horizon. All hands brace for maximum thrust." In engineering, Sofia and Alexei braced themselves as the ship's engines roared to life, the deck plates vibrating beneath their feet. The warp core flickered and pulsed, its energy output fluctuating wildly as the Aurora strained against the anomaly's grip. "Core containment is holding, but barely," Alexei shouted over the din, his face etched with concern. "We can't sustain this level of output for long, Chief." Sofia gritted her teeth, her mind racing as she calculated their options. Suddenly, her eyes widened, and she whirled to face Alexei. "The warp core can't handle the strain, but what if we vented the plasma directly into the impulse engines?" Alexei's brow furrowed, and he shook his head. "That's a stopgap measure at best, Chief, and a dangerous one at that. If the plasma flow isn't regulated precisely, we could overload the impulse manifolds." "I know the risks," Sofia said, her voice steely with determination. "But it's our only chance to break free of this anomaly's grip. We don't have a choice." Alexei held her gaze for a moment, his expression conflicted. Then, with a sharp nod, he turned back to his console. "Initiating plasma vent protocols. Let's hope this works, Chief." On the bridge, the crew braced themselves as the Aurora's engines roared to life with renewed intensity, the deck plates vibrating beneath their feet. Hayden watched the view screen intently, his jaw clenched. "Come on, girl," he murmured, his eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of the anomaly. "Fight through it." Slowly, agonizingly, the Aurora began to inch away from the anomaly's grasp, her hull groaning with the strain. Hayden's knuckles whitened as he gripped the armrests, his gaze unwavering. "Distance from the event horizon?" he barked, his voice taut. 300 kilometers and increasing, Captain," Lieutenant Ung reported, her voice laced with cautious optimism. "We're breaking free." A collective sigh of relief rippled through the bridge crew, but Hayden's expression remained grim. "Don't celebrate just yet, people. We're not out of the woods until we've put some serious distance between us and that anomaly." In engineering, Sofia and Alexei monitored the ship's systems with rapt attention, their faces bathed in the flickering glow of the displays. The warp core pulsed and hummed, its energy output stabilizing as the Aurora gained momentum. "Core containment is holding," Alexei reported, his voice laced with relief. "Impulse manifolds are running hot, but within acceptable parameters." Sofia nodded, her expression a mask of grim determination. "Keep a close eye on those readings, Lieutenant. We're not out of the woods yet." As the Aurora continued its desperate flight from the anomaly's grip, the crew remained on tenterhooks, their nerves frayed and their focus unwavering. Every meter gained felt like a hard-won victory, but the spectre of the unknown lingered, reminding them that the depths of space still held countless mysteries and dangers. It was a harsh lesson, but one that would forge the crew's resilience and determination as they ventured further into the great beyond. Chapter 3. Echoes of Catastrophe. The Aurora lurched violently, her hull reverberating with the force of a massive impact. Alarms blared, and the deck plates trembled beneath Sofia's feet as she fought to maintain her footing. "Report!" she barked, her voice taut with urgency. Alexei's fingers flew across the console, his brow furrowed in concentration. "We've sustained a direct hit to the starboard nacelle," he shouted over the cacophony of blaring klaxons. "Warp core containment fields are fluctuating dangerously." Sofia's heart hammered in her chest as she struggled to make sense of the chaos unfolding around her. "What the hell was that?" she demanded, her gaze flickering to the view screen. The image that greeted her was one of utter devastation. The Aurora's sleek form, once a symbol of humanity's technological prowess, was marred by jagged gashes and scorched hull plating. Debris tumbled through the void, a grim reminder of the vessel's compromised state. But what truly seized Sofia's attention was the sight of the alien ships that had emerged from the inky blackness, massive, angular behemoths bristling with weapons arrays. Their hulls pulsed with an ominous crimson glow, and their movements were purposeful, predatory. "Krith vessels," Alexei breathed, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and dread. "They must have detected our encounter with the anomaly and come to investigate." Sofia's lips pressed into a thin line as she processed the implications of his words. The Krith were a formidable species, known for their aggression and their mastery of warp technology. Their presence here in the depths of unexplored space was a dire omen. "Raise emergency force fields and divert all available power to defensive systems," she ordered, her tone brooking no argument. "We need to buy time for the captain to formulate a plan." Alexei nodded, his fingers already dancing across the console in a flurry of commands. "Force fields at maximum output," he reported. "But our shields are already down to 60% capacity. We can't sustain prolonged bombardment." As if on cue, another volley of energy blasts slammed into the Aurora's battered hull, and the deck heaved beneath their feet. Sofia gripped the edge of the console, her knuckles white with the strain. "Bridge, this is engineering," she barked into the comm. "We're taking heavy fire and our defenses are failing. What are our options, Captain?" There was a crackle of static, and then Hayden's voice cut through the chaos, his tone grave. "Our options are limited, Chief. The Krith have us outgunned and outmaneuvered. If we attempt to flee, they'll pursue and eventually overwhelm us." Sofia's mind raced, weighing the grim realities of their situation. "And if we stay and fight?" she prompted, already dreading the answer. Hayden's response was succinct, laced with grim finality. "Then we'll be annihilated." Another punishing volley rocked the Aurora, and Sofia braced herself against the console, her teeth gritted against the onslaught. "There has to be another way," she growled, her mind whirring with possibilities. Suddenly her eyes widened and she straightened, a spark of hope igniting within her. "The warp core," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's our only chance." Alexei's brow furrowed and he turned to face her, his expression etched with concern. "Chief, the core is already destabilized. If we attempt to initiate a warp jump in its current state—" "I know the risks, Lieutenant," Sofia cut him off, her gaze steely with determination. "But we're out of options. This is our only chance for survival." She tapped her earpiece, her voice urgent. "Captain, I have a plan. A risky one, but it might just get us out of this alive." There was a momentary pause, and then Hayden's voice crackled through the comm, laced with a mixture of apprehension and resolve. "I'm listening, Chief." Sofia took a deep breath, her mind already racing through the intricate calculations and procedures. "The warp core is our only hope," she began, her words measured and precise. "If we can channel the residual energy from our encounter with the anomaly and use it to augment the core's output, we might be able to generate enough power for a single emergency jump." Silence reigned for a heartbeat, punctuated only by the distant rumble of explosions and the wail of alarms. Then Hayden's voice cut through the din, his tone laced with grim acceptance. "Do it, Chief," he ordered, "but get us the hell out of here. That's an order." Sofia nodded, her jaw set in a firm line. "Understood, Captain. Initiating emergency warp core overload sequence." She whirled to face Alexei, her eyes blazing with intensity. "You heard the man, Lieutenant. Let's get to work." As the engineering crew sprang into action, their movements a well-choreographed dance of precision and urgency, Sofia felt a sense of calm settle over her. They were venturing into uncharted territory, pushing the boundaries of what was possible, but that was the essence of their mission: to explore, to discover, and to boldly go where no one had gone before. With a deep breath, she plunged into the maelstrom, her mind focused on the task at hand. The Aurora's fate rested in her hands, and she would not falter in the face of adversity. As the warp core's pulsing energy reached a crescendo, Sofia braced herself for the inevitable. This was their moment of reckoning, their chance to defy the echoes of catastrophe and forge a path toward salvation. And she would not let them down. Chapter 4. The Precipice of Oblivion. The Aurora trembled, her hull groaning under the strain of the warp core's unbridled power. On the engineering deck, Sofia and her team fought against the onslaught of forces threatening to tear the ship apart. "Core output at 98% and climbing," Alexei shouted, his voice strained as he struggled to maintain control of the volatile situation. Sofia gritted her teeth, her fingers flying across the console in a blur of commands. "Divert all available power to structural integrity fields," she barked. "We can't let the hull breach!" Another punishing volley of energy blasts slammed into the Aurora, and the deck heaved violently beneath their feet. Sofia stumbled, her knuckles white as she gripped the edge of the console for dear life. "Shields are down to 20%. Alexei's voice cut through the cacophony of alarms and explosions. "We can't take much more of this pounding." On the bridge, the crew braced themselves against the onslaught, their faces etched with grim determination. Captain Hayden's knuckles were white as he gripped the armrests of his chair, his gaze fixed on the viewscreen. "Status report, Lieutenant Ung," he barked, his voice taut with urgency. The young science officer's fingers danced across her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The warp core is approaching critical overload, Captain," she reported, her voice laced with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "If Chief Ramirez's calculations are correct, we should be able to initiate an emergency jump within the next 60 seconds. Hayden nodded, his jaw set in a firm line. "And if her calculations are off?" Ung swallowed hard, her expression grave. "Then we'll be torn apart by the spatial distortions before the Krith have a chance to finish us off." A heavy silence settled over the bridge, punctuated only by the distant rumble of explosions and the wail of alarms. Hayden's gaze shifted to the viewscreen, where the Krith vessels loomed, their crimson hulls pulsing with malevolent energy. "Brace for warp jump on my mark," he ordered, his voice ringing with steely resolve. In engineering, Sofia and Alexei fought against the relentless onslaught of forces threatening to tear the Aurora asunder. The warp core pulsed and hummed, its energy output rapidly approaching the point of no return. "Core containment fields are fluctuating wildly," Alexei shouted, his face bathed in the sickly glow of warning lights. "We're running out of time, Chief." Sofia gritted her teeth, her mind racing through the calculations and contingencies. "Just a few more seconds," she murmured, her fingers dancing across the console with frantic intensity. Suddenly, the deck heaved violently, and an ominous groan reverberated through the hull. Sofia's eyes widened as she watched the structural integrity fields flicker and waver, their protective cocoon threatening to collapse. "Alexei, seal off engineering," she barked, her voice laced with urgency. "Purge the atmospheric containment and initiate emergency force fields." Alexei's brow furrowed, and he shook his head vehemently. "I'm not leaving you behind, Chief." Sofia whirled to face him, her expression a mask of grim determination. "That's an order, Lieutenant. We're out of time, and you know the risks. Now do it." For a heartbeat, Alexei held her gaze, his eyes brimming with a mixture of emotions: fear, respect, and unwavering loyalty. Then, with a sharp nod, he turned back to his console and initiated the emergency protocols. As the atmosphere vented from the engineering deck, Sofia felt the familiar tingle of the force fields enveloping her. She was alone now, a solitary figure amidst the chaos, her only company, the pulsing heart of the warp core. On the bridge, Hayden's voice crackled over the comm, laced with urgency. "Chief, we're out of time. Give me the word." Sofia took a deep breath, her fingers poised over the console. This was it, the moment of truth, the culmination of her calculations, her ingenuity, and her unwavering determination. "Do it, Captain," she said, her voice steady and resolute. "Initiate warp jump on my mark." She could feel the Aurora straining against the fabric of space-time, the warp core's energy building to a crescendo that threatened to tear the ship apart. With a final, decisive keystroke, she unleashed the torrent of power, her mind focused on a single, unwavering goal: survival. "Mark!" The Aurora lurched violently, and for a breathless moment Sofia felt herself suspended in a void of nothingness. Then, with a thunderous roar, the universe folded in on itself, and the ship was propelled forward at incomprehensible speed. On the bridge, the crew clung to their stations, their faces etched with a mixture of awe and terror as the stars streaked past in a blur of light and colour. Hayden gripped the armrests of his chair, his knuckles white with the strain. "Hold her steady," he murmured, his voice barely audible over the roar of the warp engines. Seconds ticked by, each one an eternity in the realm of warp travel. And then, as abruptly as it had begun, the maelstrom subsided, and the Aurora emerged into a vast, unfamiliar expanse of space. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a breathtaking tapestry of stars and nebulae, utterly alien and unfamiliar. Hayden's brow furrowed as he scanned the displays, his mind struggling to make sense of their new surroundings. "Lieutenant Ung, where the hell are we?" he demanded, his voice laced with a mixture of wonder and trepidation. Ung's fingers flew across her console, her eyes flickering rapidly as she processed the incoming data. I'm not entirely sure, Captain," she admitted, her voice tinged with awe. "According to our navigational charts, we've somehow travelled over 10,000 light-years from our original coordinates." A heavy silence settled over the bridge, punctuated only by the steady beeps and chirps of the instruments. Hayden leaned back in his chair, his gaze fixed on the view screen, his expression one of stunned disbelief. "How is that possible?" he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. Before Ung could venture a response, the comm system crackled to life, and Sofia's voice cut through the silence, laced with weariness and triumph. "Captain, you'd better take a look at this," she said, her tone tinged with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "I think we may have stumbled upon something extraordinary." As the crew gathered around the view screen, transfixed by the spectacle unfolding before them, a sense of wonder and trepidation rippled through the Aurora. They had ventured beyond the precipice of oblivion, defying the echoes of catastrophe that had threatened to consume them, and in the process they had stumbled upon a realm of possibilities that would forever change the course of human exploration and understanding of the cosmos. The adventure was just beginning. Chapter 5. The Enigmatic Revelation. The Aurora drifted silently through the unfamiliar expanse of space, her battered hull a testament to the ordeal she had endured. On the bridge, the crew watched with bated breath as the view screen flickered to life, revealing a breathtaking spectacle that defied comprehension. Before them, a vast pulsing vortex of energy swirled and undulated, its kaleidoscopic hues painting a mesmerizing tapestry against the endless void. At its center, a singularity of light burned with an intensity that seemed to defy the laws of physics, casting a radiant glow that bathed the Aurora in its otherworldly luminance. "By the ancestors," Commander Ivanova breathed, her voice laced with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "What in the cosmos are we looking at, Lieutenant?" Ngare's fingers danced across her console, her brow furrowed in concentration as she attempted to make sense of the data streaming in. "I'm not entirely sure, Commander," she admitted, her tone tinged with bewilderment. "The energy readings are off the charts and the spatial distortions defy our current understanding of physics." Hayden leaned forward in his chair, his gaze fixed on the enigmatic phenomenon before them. "Could this be what Chief Ramirez referred to?" he mused aloud. "The key to our unexpected journey." As if on cue, the comm system crackled to life, and Sofia's voice cut through the silence, laced with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Captain, you're not going to believe this," she began, her words tumbling forth in a rush. "I've been analyzing the data from our warp jump, and the energy signatures match those of the spatial anomaly we encountered earlier." Hayden's brow furrowed, and he exchanged a puzzled glance with Ivanova. "Explain, Chief." Sofia took a deep breath, her voice tinged with a sense of wonder. "From what I can gather, the anomaly wasn't just a localized distortion in space-time. It was a sentient entity capable of manipulating the very fabric of the cosmos." A heavy silence settled over the bridge, punctuated only by the steady beeps and chirps of the instruments. It was Ung who finally broke the stunned silence, her voice laced with disbelief. "A sentient spatial anomaly," she echoed, her eyes wide. That's impossible. It defies everything we know about the nature of the universe. And yet here we are, Sofia countered, her tone resolute. The evidence is right in front of us, Lieutenant. This entity, whatever it is, not only detected our distress but deliberately intervened, using its mastery over spatial dynamics to transport us to this realm. Hayden drummed his fingers on the armrest of his chair, his mind racing to process the implications of Sofia's words. If what you're saying is true, Chief, then this changes everything we thought we knew about the cosmos. It gets even stranger, Captain, Sofia continued, her voice laced with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. I've been picking up faint energy pulses from the entity, almost like it's trying to communicate with us. Ivanova arched an eyebrow, her expression one of skepticism. Communicate? How can we possibly hope to understand a being capable of manipulating the very fabric of space-time? With all due respect, Commander, Sofia countered, her tone respectful yet firm, if we don't at least try to establish a dialogue, we may never unravel the secrets of this extraordinary phenomenon. Hayden nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the swirling vortex of energy that dominated the view screen. She's right, he said, his voice laced with resolve. This is an opportunity we can't afford to squander. Chief, see if you can decipher these energy pulses and determine if there's a way for us to respond. Aye, Captain, Sofia acknowledged, her voice tinged with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. I'll get right on it. As the engineering team sprang into action, the bridge crew watched in stunned silence, their minds struggling to comprehend the enormity of the revelation before them. They had ventured beyond the precipice of oblivion, defying the echoes of catastrophe that had threatened to consume them, only to stumble upon a realm of possibilities that challenged the very foundations of their understanding. And at the center of it all, an enigmatic entity beckoned, its cryptic overtures evoking a sense of wonder and trepidation in equal measure. The universe, it seemed, was far more vast and mysterious than they could have ever imagined. As the Aurora drifted amidst the swirling vortex of energy, the crew steeled themselves for the next chapter of their extraordinary journey, a voyage into the unknown that would forever alter the course of human exploration and understanding. The cosmos had spoken, and they were bound to answer its call, no matter where it might lead them. Chapter 6. Transcendence. The engineering deck hummed with a palpable energy as Sofia and her team worked feverishly to decipher the enigmatic pulses emanating from the cosmic entity. Amid the flurry of activity, Alexei approached her, his expression one of grave concern. "Chief, I've double-checked the calculations and I'm afraid the news isn't good," he said, his voice laced with apprehension. "If we attempt to initiate a direct response to the entity's pulses, the strain on the warp core could prove catastrophic." Sofia's brow furrowed as she processed his words, her mind already whirring with contingencies and alternatives. "What are our options, Lieutenant?" Alexei shook his head, his expression grim. "Frankly, Chief, our options are limited. The warp core sustained significant damage during our encounter with the Krith, and our reserves are running dangerously low." Sofia's lips pressed into a thin line as she pondered the implications of his assessment. They had come too far, risked too much, to let this opportunity slip through their fingers. There had to be a way. Suddenly her eyes widened and she straightened, a spark of realization igniting within her. "The entity itself," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Alexei arched an eyebrow, his expression one of puzzlement. "What about it, Chief?" Sofia turned to face him, her gaze intense and focused. "The entity's energy signature is unlike anything we've ever encountered before. What if we could harness that power, channel it directly into the warp core?" Alexei's eyes widened as he grasped the implications of her words. "You're suggesting we use the entity's own energy to power our systems," he breathed, his voice tinged with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Sofia nodded, her expression resolute. "Precisely. It's a long shot, but it might just be our only chance to establish a dialogue." Alexei considered her words for a moment, his brow furrowed in contemplation. Then, with a sharp nod, he turned and began issuing orders to the engineering team. As the crew sprang into action, Sofia felt a sense of calm settle over her. They were venturing into uncharted territory, pushing the boundaries of what was possible, but that was the essence of their mission: to explore, to discover, and to boldly go where no one had gone before. On the bridge, the tension was palpable as the crew awaited word from engineering. Hayden drummed his fingers on the armrest of his chair, his gaze fixed on the swirling vortex of energy that dominated the view screen. "Report, Chief," he said, his voice taut with anticipation. Sofia's response crackled over the comm, laced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "We're initiating the energy transfer protocol now, Captain. Stand by for potential fluctuations in power systems." As if on cue, the Aurora trembled, her hull groaning as the entity's cosmic energy surged through her systems. On the bridge, the crew braced themselves, their knuckles white as they gripped their stations for dear life. "Readings are spiking off the charts," Ung reported, her voice strained as she struggled to make sense of the data streaming across her console. "The entity's energy signature is unlike anything we've ever encountered." Hayden leaned forward, his jaw set in a firm line. "Can we modulate it? Establish a communication frequency?" There was a crackle of static, and then Sofia's voice cut through the chaos, laced with breathless wonder. "I think we've got it, Captain. The entity's energy patterns are starting to coalesce into recognizable waveforms. On the view screen, the swirling vortex of energy seemed to pulse and undulate, its kaleidoscopic hues shifting and coalescing into intricate patterns that danced across the vast expanse of space. It's trying to communicate," Sofia breathed, her voice tinged with awe. "I'm patching it through to the main viewer now." The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the energy patterns coalesced into a vast, towering form that seemed to defy comprehension. It was a being of pure energy, its radiant tendrils stretching out into the vast expanse of space, pulsing and undulating, with a rhythm that seemed to echo the very heartbeat of the cosmos. Suddenly a voice reverberated through the Aurora's systems, a resonant, otherworldly tone that seemed to permeate the very fabric of reality. "We are the Sentinels, guardians of the celestial realms," the voice intoned, its cadence both ancient and eternal. "You have ventured beyond the veil, into domains forbidden to your kind." A heavy silence settled over the bridge, punctuated only by the steady beeps and chirps of the instruments. It was Hayden who finally found his voice, his tone laced with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "We mean no offense, Sentinels," he said, his words measured and respectful. "Our journey into this realm was unintentional, born of desperation and a desire to survive." The entity's radiant form seemed to shift and undulate, its energy patterns rippling in response to Hayden's words. "And yet, you have proven yourselves worthy," the voice resonated, its tone laced with a subtle undercurrent of approval. "Your ingenuity and resilience in the face of adversity have earned you a rare privilege, the opportunity to transcend the boundaries of your limited existence." Sofia's heart hammered in her chest as she processed the entity's words, her mind struggling to grasp the enormity of the implications. "What do you mean by transcend?" she ventured, her voice laced with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. The entity's form seemed to expand, its radiant tendrils stretching outward as if to encompass the very cosmos itself. "We are the custodians of the celestial realms, guardians of knowledge and understanding beyond your comprehension," the voice intoned. "And now we offer you the chance to partake in that knowledge, to shed the shackles of your limited perception and embrace the true nature of existence." A heavy silence settled over the Aurora, punctuated only by the steady thrum of the warp core and the pulsing rhythm of the entity's energy patterns. It was Ivanova who finally broke the stunned silence, her voice laced with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "And what would be the cost of this transcendence?" she ventured, her gaze fixed on the towering form that dominated the view screen. The entity seemed to pause, as if considering its response. Then, with a shimmer of energy that rippled across the vast expanse of space, it spoke once more. "The cost is insignificant compared to the rewards," the voice resonated. "You need only surrender your preconceptions, your limited understanding of the cosmos, and embrace the truth that lies beyond the veil." Hayden exchanged a glance with Ivanova, his expression inscrutable. Then, with a slow nod, he turned his attention back to the entity. "We accept your offer, Sentinels," he said, his voice firm and resolute. "Guide us toward this transcendence, and we will embrace the truth that lies beyond." The entity's response was immediate, a resounding pulse of energy that seemed to reverberate through the very fabric of the Aurora. "So be it. Children of the void," the voice intoned, its tone laced with a subtle undercurrent of respect. "Brace yourselves, for the journey ahead will challenge the very foundations of your existence." As the entity's energy patterns began to shift and undulate, enveloping the Aurora in a radiant cocoon of cosmic power, the crew braced themselves for the unknown. They had ventured beyond the precipice of oblivion, defying the echoes of catastrophe that had threatened to consume them, only to find themselves on the precipice of a new frontier, a realm of understanding and knowledge that transcended the boundaries of their limited perception. And as the Aurora was propelled forward, carried on the cosmic currents of the entity's transcendent power, the crew knew that their lives, their understanding of the universe, would be forever changed. They were no longer mere explorers, venturing into the unknown depths of space. They were pioneers, pioneers of a new era of enlightenment and understanding, where the boundaries between the physical and the metaphysical blurred, and the secrets of the cosmos lay waiting to be unraveled. The journey had only just begun, but they were ready to embrace the truth that lay beyond the veil, and to forge a path toward a transcendence that would forever alter the course of human existence. For in that moment, they were no longer bound by the constraints of their mortal existence. They were the architects of a new reality, a reality where the echoes of the cosmos resonated with the profound truth of their newfound understanding. And as the Aurora slipped beyond the veil, carried on the cosmic tides of the Sentinel's transcendent power, the crew knew that they were forever changed, transformed into beings who had glimpsed the true nature of existence, and who would never again view the cosmos through the same limited lens. They were the chosen ones, the harbingers of a new era of enlightenment and understanding, and their journey was only just beginning.